Yo, what is up, guys? It is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, back again today with another fantasy football video. Now, I'm sorry that I haven't been uploading. I didn't upload at all yesterday because I've been dealing with something, so I'm sorry that I wasn't able to upload. But today we are going to be doing a draft recap from one of my drafts that I did yesterday. It was or 2 days ago, as you're watching this. It's an 8-team league, PPR, pretty normal roster. It's one quarterback, two running backs, two wideouts, a tight end, and then two flexes, a kicker, and a defense, and seven bench spots. So before I start the video, I'd like to ask you guys, could please go down below and click that subscribe button. The support means a lot to me. So let's get right into the video. So the first round, sorry guys if I sound like emotional or something. Sorry, but the first round begun, and my team name is Fulchub. So the first pick was Saquon Barkley. Second pick was CMC, followed by Alvin Kamara, Zeke, and then I went with DJ. I thought that he was the best running back available. I typically like to go with the best running back in the first round if I'm one of those top picks. Now this is an 8-team league, so pretty much everyone's team is going to be stacked. But we'll see later in the draft grades portion of the video where I talk about everyone's team at the end and I rate each one. Then you guys can see that some teams are actually not that great. So after I went with David Johnson, Odell came off the board, followed by D Hop, Lev Bell. Odell was probably the biggest reach in the first round. Everything else was pretty normal. So the second team, or the second round began with David John or not David Johnson, Devontae Adams, followed by James Conner, Nick Chubb, and then I went with Travis Kelsey because I believe that having the number one tight end in an 8-team league gives you a huge positional advantage because normally you have just one what's it called? Everyone's running backs, wide receivers, quarterback, they're all stacked, but if you have a good tight end, you have the best tight end, that you have a huge positional advantage at that position. So the fifth pick was Michael Thomas, followed by Zach Ertz, a little early for Ertz, in my opinion. Typically, Ertz will go around like the third or fourth round, but you'll see the tight ends did come fast in this one. So after Ertz went, Julio went, followed by Todd Gurley. At the beginning of the third round, Juju was selected, followed by Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, Joe Mixon, Kerryon Johnson, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, and Devontae Freeman. So my pick was, let's see, we selected Kerryon in the third round. I really wanted Mixon or Juju or Tyreek to fall to me, but I went with Mixon because not with Mixon. I went with Kerryon because I thought he was the best running back still available. Now there are a lot of question marks with him. There are other running backs that I could have potentially went with that some people believe are safer. In my opinion, I don't think that. I don't like Fournette, Cook, or Freeman due to their injury risk. And I don't like how they um, have been playing recently. If I'm being honest with you, Dalvin Cook played great in the preseason, but how much does the preseason really equate to it when he's such an injury-prone player? Devontae Freeman, injury-prone player. Leonard Fournette, kind of injury-prone, but really just doesn't perform. He does bad things off the field, bad things on the field to lead to fights. He fought the whole Bills team one year. You don't want that on your team, so I thought Kerryon was the safest option. So after I went with Kerryon, Leonard Fournette came out the board, followed by Dalvin Cook, Devontae Freeman, and that is the end of the third round. So then the fourth round begun with Damian Williams, followed by George Kittle. Pat Mahomes, first quarterback off the board in the third round, followed by Chris Carson, AB, Josh Jacobs, and then David Montgomery and Amari Cooper. So now I'm going to go into why I picked Chris Carson. Now, personally, I believe Chris Carson has potential to be a top 10 running back in fantasy football this year. He is on the most run-heavy team in the NFL. Now, they do split his touches. It'll be like 60-40 in Chris Carson's favor, but I still do believe that he is well worth this pick in the fourth round of an 8-team league. So, I just love Chris Carson, and in every single league, I try to get him. I try to get him and a few running backs like Montgomery I try to get, but I didn't end up getting Montgomery. But with that being said, that's the end of the fourth round. So the fifth round began with Julian Edelman, followed by Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Aaron Jones, and then I went with my first wideout selection of Robert Woods. I thought Robert Woods was the best wide receiver on the board. I think Robert Woods could also be like a top 15 guy. So him being my wide receiver one doesn't necessarily scare me a lot, considering there's two flexes, so I could play two running backs in the flex since I drafted so many so highly. So I like getting Robert Woods here to be my number one wide receiver. I think he will have weeks where he's a top 5 wide receiver. Pretty clear that could happen because the Rams are such a good offense, and I think they're going to be relying heavily on the passing game because of Todd Gurley's injury. So after we went with Robert Woods, his teammate Cooks came off the board, followed by Tyler Lockett and Marlon Mack. Now, the thing about Marlon Mack you have to understand is that he may still be pretty fine. I think him and Ty are going to end up being fine. All the other pieces around Indianapolis without Andrew Luck are I'm very scared. I think it moved Ty down, it moves Mac down because while can see him getting more touches, are his touches as useful? He was typically getting touches in the red zone. He was going to be able to score. Now, who knows if they're going to be scoring as much? Most likely not with a worse quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett's not some bum, but what I'm saying is that Andrew Luck is like 9 times better than Jacoby Brissett for fantasy at least. So after Marlon Mack came off the board, the sixth round began with Stephon Diggs, followed by Sony Michel, O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Boyd, Evan Ingram, T.Y. Hilton. So my selection was Chris Godwin. I started the draft off with a tight end and 3 running backs. So I figured I'd get 2 of my receivers back to back. I went with Woods last round. This round I went with Godwin. I think Godwin is on a team that's going to be very pass heavy this season. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be playing a lot from behind. So I like Chris Godwin here. He's going to have a lot of garbage time points in my opinion. All the rest of the picks are pretty normal, but like I said, guys, the tight ends were going fast. O.J. Howard gone in the sixth. Evan Ingram gone in the sixth. Kittle gone by the fourth. And if you think about it, this is an 8-team league. So if you're used to playing in like a 12-team league, then the sixth round seems normal for Evan Ingram. But the sixth round is more like the fourth round or like the fifth round in these type of leagues because there's only 8 teams. So with that being said, the seventh round begun, and Kenny Galladay was selected, followed by Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Calvin Ridley, and I went with Miles Sanders. Now I pulled the trigger a little early on Miles, but that is because I love getting him on my fantasy football team. Every single year I draft, or not every single year, but in every single draft, he's one of those guys that I target because I know that maybe not week one will he be amazing, but I know a couple of weeks into the season I'll be able to start him, and he's not like my second running back. He's like my fourth running back, so I know I could let him ride the pine and start someone else as my second flex until I know Miles Sanders is that solidified guy that I want, then that I believe he is. So after I went with Miles Sanders, Christian Kirk came out the board, followed by Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. So that concludes the seventh round. So the eighth round began with AJ Green, followed by Flash Gordon, and then the worst pick of the draft, the Chicago Bears defense. Do not pick the Bears defense that early. We are not even halfway. We're about halfway through the draft at this point, and picking the Bears that early is stupid. So then I went with James White with my next pick. I want to get a running back late here in like the eighth that I think has top 10 potential. Last year, James White finished as the number 7 running back in PPR formats, and I think that he could potentially do it again. Do I think he'll be top 10? Probably not. Be a top 20 guy, but I found him in the 8th round. He's a guy that I love starting at my flex because he's not really much of a running back. Sure, he may run in some touchdowns and he will run the ball 4 or 5 times potentially a game, but he's going to be catching potentially 5 or 6 passes, and that's 5 or 6 free points every single week for my fantasy football team. So I love getting those free points. So after I went with James White, Philip Lindsay came out the board, followed by Tevin Coleman, Darius Geis, and Melvin Gordon. So it was the 8th round for Melvin Gordon where he was finally selected. That's not that bad. Would I do it in the 8th round? Probably not, but I did definitely see value in him, and I was surprised that he even fell this far because if I'm being honest with you, if he's gone for 8 games, you have probably 8 solid games of Melvin Gordon coming your way if you are able to draft correctly around the fact that you have Melvin Gordon, your team could still end up great and your playoff push will be amazing. So after Melvin Gordon went, Alshon came off the board, followed by Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, Jared Cook, and then I went with D.D. Westbrook, wide receiver, Jacksonville Jaguars. I really like D.D. Westbrook. He went 7, I believe he caught 7 passes, or he got thrown the ball at least 11 times by Nick Foles in their preseason game, and he scored a touchdown. And what that tells me is that D.D. Westbrook, as the slot guy, is Nick Foles' favorite target, like I believed before we saw it, but now we saw it, and I believe what my eyes see, and I know that he will be probably an amazing flex option that I found in the 9th round, and could even have weeks where he's a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy football. So after with DD, Jared Goff came off the board, followed by Kenyon Drake and Drew Brees. So what I thought was funny here is that Jared Goff and Drew Brees ended up being drafted before Deshaun Watson. I was quite pissed off that he got picked before I got to go, but I just thought that was something funny to talk about because in a lot of your guys' leagues, you're going to be playing with people that are inexperienced, like in this league, or not even inexperienced, but make weird decisions that you probably in your mocks haven't seen something like this happen, but it could happen in your draft. So after Drew Brees was selected, the 10th round begun with Hunter Henry, followed by Deshaun Watson, Stephen Gostkowski. That was pretty early for a kicker, way too early in my opinion, and I went with Duke Johnson. I got David Johnson On Johnson and Duke Johnson. Johnson, Johnson, and Johnson. I think Duke Johnson has top 25 running back potential with the fact that Lamar Miller's gone. Now, if they bring in Jay Ajayi, they bring in another back from a different team like Kenneth Dixon, then that's going to hurt Duke Johnson's value. But at the exact same time, I think Duke Johnson is still a very useful running back in fantasy football. So I love his value in the 10th round. Now, I know I only have 3 wide receivers right now, and some people might be scared, but at the end of the day, I'm going to pretty much be using all of my flexes on my running backs. And I think that having 4 starting running backs all in all at once is very useful in fantasy football, especially if you don't have those elite wide receivers. So after with Duke Johnson, Matty Ice came off the board, followed by Austin Eckler, Allen Robinson, Mike Williams. I also found it funny that Matt Ryan went in the 10th round, whereas Goff and Breeze went before Matt Ryan. I think that's a bit fishy there. Not nothing actually fishy, just more confusing. So the 11th round begun, and Geronimo Allison came off the board, and then Cooper Kupp, the steal of the draft in the 11th round. He was hiding. Now we do this in person, so there's a big board, and you're putting the stickers on. If you want a huge board to do your draft with, you can use my sponsor. My sponsor down below, they're called fantasybros.com. If you use code Notorious, you get 5% off. I used the board. I really enjoyed it. And Cooper Kupp was just hiding. People weren't crossing names off, so Cooper Kupp did end up getting picked in the 11th round, so I like that value there. So after Cooper Kupp came out the board, Emmanuel Sanders came out the board, followed by Sterling Shepard, and then I went with Marvin Jones Jr., wide receiver of the Detroit Lions. Now, I think that Marvin Jones last year had a pretty good season before he got hurt. And I think that Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones will have probably a pretty comparable season when the season comes to an end. I think they'll both be near each other. And you're getting Marvin Jones in the 11th, okay? Galladay went in the 7th. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 1, 2, 3. That's like a 4 round discount you're getting on Marvin Jones, and they could both finish similarly at the end of the year. So after Marvin Jones went, I love Latavius Murray. He got picked. He's a running back that I love targeting as well because not only is he going to be good if Alvin Kamara was to get hurt, but he's going to be good if Alvin Kamara is on the field. He's going to be getting probably 10, 11, 12 touches a game, still potentially get that vulture touchdown opportunity and catch maybe a pass every single game. So that's pretty solid floor there. After that, another pick that I don't like, I do not like Kareem Hunt, but he went at the 7th pick of the 11th round because I don't pick a guy that I think won't even be playing more than half the season, and that doesn't have super high upside like Melvin Gordon. He's going to be the running back 2 on the team behind Chubb. So after Kareem Hunt came out the board, Pettis came out the board. The 12th round begun with Larry Fitz, followed by the LA Rams defense, then Will Fuller, and then I went with Peyton Barber. Now, I pulled the trigger a bit early on him, but I do still like him because I think that if Rojo's injury is serious, like I think it is, if you look at him, it looked pretty fucked up. His knee looked pretty inflamed, and I believe that Peyton Barber will end up being the running back 1 on that team. It's like he has some type of a gypsy witchcraft curse going his way because Peyton Barber is just going to be that starting running back forever, it seems like. So after I went with Peyton Barber, Tariq Cohen came on the board, followed by Curtis Samuel, a wide receiver that I love targeting. Say Watkins, another receiver I like targeting, and a running back I like targeting, Kalen Balaj. So the 13th round began with MVS, followed by David Njoku, Corey Davis, who I hate, Dante Moncrief, and I went with Justin Jackson. I decided to go with yet another running back to solidify my running back core. Justin Jackson will be useful for the first 8 weeks of the season, likely with Melvin Gordon's holdout. He's holding out hella. He is not coming back. It doesn't seem like until maybe 8 weeks into the season. So Justin Jackson's a steal at your end of the draft, at the end of your draft, because of the fact that when Melvin Gordon was hurt last year, he was scoring like 15 points 3 out of the 4 games he played. So I think he's a pretty safe option here this late in the draft. So after I went with Justin Jackson, Jordan Howard came out the board, followed by Vance McDonald, and then one of the bigger targets in my draft, Darwin Thompson, I like to pick because if you have D'Angelo Williams, you need him because he's like the handcuff for Williams. And some people believe that Darwin Thompson will emerge past D'Angelo Williams in the depth chart. Would I be surprised if that happened? Probably, but could it happen? 100%. So I wouldn't mind going Darwin Thompson there. Do not be drafting Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is not, he's probably going to get cut. So after Darwin Thompson, Chris Herndon came off the board, a tight end that's obviously he's suspended for 4 games, but he is still a guy that I wouldn't mind targeting in the back of the draft because you could just hold him. Now in an 8-team league, I personally wouldn't, but in certain type of leagues, yes, I would draft Chris Herndon where it's like a 14-team league and I waited really long and I went with a guy like Hawkinson, and then I would rather rely on Chris Herndon on a weekly basis after that. So after I went, Herndon came out the board, Justin Tucker came out the board, followed by Rolls-Royce Freeman, and then I went with my quarterback, my QB1, Cam Newton, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Now he does have that leg injury. He has that walking boot, but I'm confident he'll be good for week 1. And I know that he's a top 5 guy when he's healthy, so I'm confident drafting him in the 14th round. That's amazing value in my opinion. So after I went with Cam Newton, Sutton came out the board, followed by Carson Wentz, Tony Pollard, the handcuff for Zeke. Now, I don't think they drafted Zeke. I personally think Zeke will sign by week 1, so it may end up being a wasted pick, but it is a pick that will happen in every single draft, and that someone will hop aboard the Tony Pollard train. After Tony Pollard got picked, Austin Hooper was picked, and that's the end of the 14th round. So now we got 3 rounds left. The 15th round began with Golden Tate, followed by the Jags defense, LaShawn McCoy, G. Reg, third leg, Olsen, and that went with Greg Zuerlein. Now I know you guys are calling me crazy. Oh, Nick, you always tell me you need to draft a kicker or a defense in the last 2 rounds, and I really do believe that. But Greg Zuerlein wasn't going to be there when I picked, in my opinion, and I wanted to get the best kicker, in my opinion, in the game. So I just pulled the trigger 1 round early. I'm sorry, guys, because I don't really preach that, but at points, there's value for that when I knew in the next round I was just going to select a wide receiver that I thought would be there. So after I went with Greg the Legs Zerline, Anthony Miller came out the board, followed by Big Ben, and then Harrison Bucker. So the 16th round begun with Baltimore defense, followed by Devin Singletary, DK Metcalf. I went with Kiki Kuti. I think that while he may not be ready week 1 or 2, he may come back week 3, and then like by week 6, he'll be a guy that I think I would be comfortable starting as long as he gets put back into the offense the way he was being used last year. And if Will Fuller gets hurt, like he inevitably always does, that would give us a boost to the team. So after I went with Kiki Kuti, Will Lutz came out the board, followed by Kai Fairbairn, Mason Crosby, Russell Wilson, and then that was the end of the 16th round. So I'm sorry, guys, right now if it is lagging. I just got an alert on my phone to optimize my PC, or an alert on my computer, because apparently it is lagging right now, or at least it looks like it. There are important updates to happen on my computer, but I do not really care about that. So I am going to keep talking. Hopefully the audio didn't get fucked up there, but I'm just going to keep going. So the 17th round begun, and the Minnesota Vikings were the first pick off of the board, and then followed by Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray in the 17th round has such huge upside because he's your quarterback too. You didn't waste a high pick on him, and he's just a guy who can rush for potentially like 800 yards, 600 yards, and that's just free points. Now, well, do I think he's going to necessarily do that? No, I think he'll be below 500 rushing yards, but still, that's immense value. So after Kyler Murray came at the board, LA Chargers defense came at the board, followed by New England, and then I went with Dallas defense because I believe they are the best defense to have week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Giants. So after I went with the Cowboys, Matt Gay, the kicker, was selected, followed by Matt Breida, a player I like, late running back, and then Darrell Henderson, who has amazing value in the 17th round, as long as Gurley, if Gurley ends up getting hurt. So now we're going to scroll all the way back up, and now we're going to do the team grade. So if you enjoyed the video so far, please, I would encourage you to click that subscribe button. So I'm going to just go in order right here. This is in order of the first pick, second pick, third pick, fourth pick, fifth pick, sixth pick, seventh. Okay, so the first team we're going to go with is Fabio's team now. His first pick was Saquon Barkley, followed by Gurley. Now he has 2 running backs that could potentially be elite as long as Gurley stays healthy. Do I think Gurley will stay healthy? No, so I'm nervous about that. So after Gurley, he went with Juju, followed by Amari Cooper, who I don't like due to that heel injury and the fact that he's very hit or miss, followed by Julian Edelman, dealing with that injury of the thumb, should be good for week 1. T.Y. Hilton, I am nervous about, fine in the 6th round. And then Kenny Galladay, Melvin Gordon, Alshon Jeffrey, Mike Williams, Geronimo Allison, Kalen Ballage, Marquez Valdez Scantling, Golden Tate, no, Austin Hooper, Golden Tate, Russell Wilson, Minnesota. I don't like Russell Wilson. I would have taken Kyler Murray over him. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are still available on the waiver wire that I would even personally rather have than Russell Wilson. Overall, the team has 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. Wait, one, is that true? 1, 2. They have 4 running backs, and they drafted one of them that's useless in Melvin Gordon, so I don't really like doing that. So I'm going to give this team probably a C minus, because if they drafted Justin Jackson later instead of me, they would have probably ended up with a pretty solid team. And they went with an injury prone Todd Gurley and didn't end up getting Malcolm Brown or Darrell Henderson. So not handcuffing him is going to prove to be something that they will end up regretting. So the second team went off. The first pick was Christian McCaffrey, followed by Julio, Tyreek, David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, Evan Ingram, Mark Ingram, Darius Geis, Aaron Rodgers, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, David Njoku, Pollard, Jacksonville, Crosby, Kyler Murray. So this team I do end up liking a lot, actually. The value on Cooper Kupp in the 11th is very big, in my opinion. I also like the way they started off the draft with CMC, Julio, Tyreek, David Montgomery. This team gets a B plus. Their quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and I really just like this team. Now there are questionable picks with Mark Ingram and Darius Geis, kind of questionable players. I don't like Allen Robinson that much, but the rest of the team as a whole, I think, is probably going to be just fine. So the third pick was Baker's finest. He went with Alvin Kamara in the first round, pick 3, followed by Zach Ertz, Adam Thielen, Josh Jacobs, Mike Evans, all the way in the 5th round, followed by Tyler Boyd, Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, Baker Mayfield, Austin Eckler, Emmanuel Sanders, Curtis Samuel, Double Samuel. Oh, wait, no, no, never mind. I'm quite stupid. Sanders and then Samuel. Corey Davis, Carson Wentz, LaShawn McCoy, Kai Fairbairn, and the Chargers defense. The beginning of the draft was quite good. Getting Kamara, Ertz, Thielen, Jacobs, Mike Evans, Boyd, I really like. Now, there are some question marks on that team. Derrick Henry's a big question mark. Who knows how well he'll play this season? Who knows if it'll be like the end of the season or if it'll be more like the beginning of last season? Who knows about Tevin Coleman as well? Now, I do really just would prefer drafting Matt Breida. I still think Coleman will be pretty solid, but that is a kind of a question mark for me. Corey Davis is a no-no for me. I really don't like Corey Davis at all. He'll get 120 targets, come down with 50, 60 balls, and you'll just be embarrassed that you drafted him even in the 13th round. This team is a B overall. I do like this team. So, the 4th pick was the risky Rams. They went with Zeke at the 4th pick, followed by Michael Thomas, Joe Mixon, AB. Don't really like AB. I'm scared of AB. Who knows what he's going to do this year. Who knows if he's going to play, do the helmet. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen. They say he's going to play. I'm nervous, though. Derek Carr throws one too many bad passes. Antonio Brown goes on Twitter, calls him out, and then Antonio Brown is sitting the whole rest of the season. So after AB, he selected Aaron Jones, followed by Jarvis Landry, way too early for Jarvis, Calvin Ridley, Philip Lindsay, who I don't like, Jared Cook, Matt Ryan. I don't like Shepard that much, even though he will be healthy week 1. He could definitely have some solid value in the 11th round. I don't like Tariq Cohen. I don't think his usage will be that high. Like Moncrief, don't really love any of those Denver wideouts. Don't really like Greg Olsen either, if I'm being honest. If you drafted Jared Cook that early, you don't need a backup tight end. I like Lutz and New England. Who gives a fuck about the defense? Pretty solid team there. That's a B to B minus. It would be a B minus if AB ends up being annoying like how he has been, and if Zeke doesn't end up playing for the first couple of weeks. So at the 5th pick, we have my team, full Chubb. I went with David Johnson first, followed by Travis Kelsey, Kerryon Johnson, Chris Carson, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, Miles Sanders, James White, D.D. Westbrook, Duke Johnson, Marvin Jones, Peyton Barber, Justin Jackson, Cam Newton, Greg Zerline, Kiki Cootie, and the Cowboys defense. This team, to me, it's my team, so I always give my team an A. This is an A team. We have a guy that could be a top 4 running back if Zeke ends up holding out for a couple of games. We have the best tight end, and we have a bunch of running backs later that I really like that I think could be a flex option. We have 2 solid wide receivers that I really like to target. So, and we got a quarterback late that I really like in Cam Newton if healthy. So, I think my team is a pretty complete team with a lot of running backs because I think the running back is the most important position in fantasy football. So the 6th pick, the knife, went with Odell Beckham at the 6th pick, very early for Odell Beckham Jr. 2nd pick went with Nick Chubb, that sniped me. I wanted Nick Chubb, followed by Leonard Fournette, who I don't really like. Pat Mahomes, a little early for a quarterback, but that's going to happen. Someone's going to pick Pat Mahomes early. Followed by Brandon Cooks, OJ Howard, a bit early for Howard, but at the same time, the tight ends were going kind of fast. Followed by Christian Kirk. And then the draft went to shit. Chicago defense, I don't pick the defense that early. Do not do that. You can find a defense later, like the Cowboys in the last round, that you'll be a lot more happy with for the first couple of weeks, and then you can just stream defenses. 9th round went with Goff over a lot of good quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, Drew Brees. I don't believe, or even Deshaun Watson. I don't believe that that's a good pick at all. Followed by Stefan Gostowski. Don't pick a kicker that early. Latavius Murray, I like. Will Fuller, I like. Jordan Howard has some solid value if Miles Sanders doesn't pan out for the first couple of weeks. Royce Freeman, I like. Anthony Miller, I'm indifferent on. And then DK Metcalf has that injury, so I'm kind of scared of that. And then drafting 2 kickers is kind of dumb, but it's okay. That team is a C minus. It's not terrible. It's not amazing though. So, the 7th pick, Poke Moncrief, went with DeAndre Hopkins, followed by James Conner, Dalvin Cook, George Kittle, Tyler Lockett, Sony Michel, Robbie Anderson, Flash Gordon, Kenyon Drake, Deshaun Watson, amazing value in the 10th, Kareem Hunt, LA Rams, Vance McDonald, Justin Tucker, Big Ben, Devin Singletary, Matt Breida. I don't think you need 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends. I believe he also has 2 tight ends. Yeah, Kittle and McDonald, you don't need that. This team overall would have been way better if they didn't do that. Drafting 2 quarterbacks after you get insane value on Watson. Going Kareem Hunt is just useless. This team is a B minus. Overall, a pretty good team, has great starters, but at the end of the day, your bench really does matter. And having a useless Kareem Hunt, having Vance McDonald, who you're probably never going to play, Big Ben, who you're never going to play, is pretty useless in my opinion. So the final team, Mike's team, at pick 8 went with Le'Veon Bell, followed by Devontae Adams. Great start there. Then I don't really like Devontae Freeman due to that injury proneness. He went at the third pick of the third. He was his third round selection, followed by Damian Williams. I like solid value. He even handcuffed him with Thompson later. My bad. After Williams, he went with Mack, followed by Stefan Diggs, DJ Moore, AJ Green, who I don't really like all that much. The eighth round's way too early in a 10 or an 8 team league, way too early. Pick 57. That's like round 5 or 6 of a normal draft. I don't like that value. Followed by Drew Brees, who I would have taken other quarterbacks above him, like Watson, but you never know. He doesn't even have a wide receiver from New Orleans, so that doesn't make too much sense to me. Hunter Henry, I like solid value in the 10th round, followed by Dante Pettis, Larry Fitz, who I don't really like. Darwin Thompson, great handcuff. Chris Herndon, okay pick. Harrison Butker, Baltimore Ravens, Darrell Henderson, amazing pick late in the draft. So this team's probably also a B. Drafting 2 tight ends, never ideal. Only drafted 1 quarterback, so that's good. But overall, a pretty good team. Could definitely be a playoff contender. So thank you guys all for watching the video. If you did end up enjoying, please click that subscribe button down below. I love each and every one of you guys. Thank you for helping me. I'm near 1,000 subscribers. I don't know if I'm at 900 yet, 800. I haven't really been able to check. I've been kind of down, but thank you guys all for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.